Hi everyone. Today we will be presenting our business case on Wilmar International Limited. Allow me to provide a brief overview of Wilmar. Established in 1991, Wilmar has evolved to become Asia's foremost agribusiness group. Wilmar is headquartered in Singapore and is ranked amongst the largest listed companies by market capitalization on the Singapore Exchange, or SGX for short. Wilmar engages in various key activities such as plantation and sugar milling, the production of feed and industrial products, and the manufacturing of food products. In the fiscal year 2022, Wilmar recorded a revenue of $73.4 billion, reflecting an impressive 11.6% increase from the previous year. Wilmar's core operations encompass a diverse range of activities. Notably, its primary revenue driver lies in the dynamic sectors of feed and industrial products. In the fiscal year 2022, these segments demonstrated remarkable strength, contributing a substantial $44.55 billion to Wilmar's overall revenue. As part of our comprehensive carbon accounting for Wilmar, our attention in this assignment zeroed in on crucial aspects, specifically the oil palm plantations, palm oil mills, sugar plantations, and sugar mills. These targeted areas emerged as the primary contributors to Wilmar's total greenhouse gas emissions, as outlined in their 2022 sustainability report. Upon conducting our calculations, we found that Wilmar's total Scope 3 upstream emissions revealed a distinctive result of negative 339,808.06 tons of CO2 equivalents. This negative value is attributed to the noteworthy annual carbon sequestration by oil palms within Wilmar's operations, effectively offsetting other Scope 3 upstream emissions. Moving forward, let's delve into Wilmar's Scope 1 emissions for each business activity, which are detailed as follows. It is important to note that Wilmar disclosed only the total emissions for each scope. Consequently, we relied on emissions factors and activity data derived from thorough secondary research that we conducted. In continuation of its Scope 1 emissions, Wilmar contributed a total of 6,661,654.85 tons of CO2 equivalents across these four key business activities. This data underscores the significant environmental impact associated with Wilmar's operations in relation to Scope 1 emissions. While the Scope 1 emissions were notable, the magnitude escalated further with Wilmar's Scope 2 emissions, registering a substantial 58,212,298.91 tons of CO2 equivalent. This underscores a considerable environmental footprint associated with Wilmar's energy consumption and indirect emissions. In our analysis of Wilmar's Scope 3 downstream emissions, our calculations indicate a total emission of 807,090 tons of CO2 equivalents for the year 2022. It is crucial to highlight that these figures are derived from assumptions and secondary data gathered through research papers. However, it is essential to recognize that the actual emission figures for Wilmar may differ. This underscores the importance of improvement in transparency, urging Wilmar to enhance visibility by providing more detailed insights into its carbon accounting methods and calculations. We have identified 6 primary natural resources critical to Wilmar's operations: oil palm plantations, sugarcane plantations, and other agricultural products such as flour, rice, oilseeds, and grains. Additionally, the company relies on electricity and other sources, minerals and chemicals, and water resources. Each of these resources entails specific risks to Wilmar, outlined in the accompanying table on this slide. Transitioning to the challenges that Wilmar confronts, the initial antagonism centers around the tension between the business model and volume strategy. Ideally, Wilmar seeks to maximize revenue, a goal achieved through high volume production, fostering economies of scale. However, this pursuit can lead to heightened CO2 emissions. Notably, the expansion of palm oil production, a key focus for Wilmar, necessitates increased agricultural areas, potentially triggering deforestation. Moreover, the corresponding rise in the use of fertilizers and chemicals during this expansion exacerbates CO2 emissions. In addressing the second antagonism of product launch and innovation, our first innovation centers on precision agriculture. In Wilmar's Australian operations, this involves the use of mechanized boom applicators controlled from within climate-controlled vehicles to apply chemicals, minimizing direct exposure. However, the energy needed for these vehicles results in CO2 emissions. The second innovation focuses on electrifying operations to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Wilmar's subsidiary, Goodman Fielder, conducted an electric truck trial and replaced 22% of its leased sales vehicles with lower emission hybrids. While this shift enhances sustainability, it is crucial to note that the production, maintenance, and disposal of these vehicles also contribute to CO2 emissions. In addressing the antagonism of investments and asset management, Wilmar confronts challenges in transitioning to less carbon-intensive agricultural practices globally. The complexity arises as farmers and suppliers in rural areas often lack the expertise for adopting energy-efficient methods. To advance precision agriculture in Australia, Wilmar replaced traditional vehicles with climate-controlled ones fitted with proper air filters. However, this transition contributes to higher greenhouse gas emissions. Moving on to our analysis of Wilmar's physical and transition risks, we have categorized its physical risks into acute and chronic. Acute risks encompass temperature changes and a heightened frequency of extreme weather events like floods and droughts, which can amplify crop production volatility and facilitate the spread of new diseases and pests, disrupting the broader ecosystem. Meanwhile, chronic risks involve escalating pressure on fertile soils, potentially causing long-term damage to crops and impacting the viability of sustained planting. These chronic risks pose threats to land use, food production, and overall food security. Both acute and chronic risks significantly impact Wilmar's productivity and crop yields. In our assessment of Wilmar's transition risks, we have identified 6 types: current regulations, emerging regulations, technology, legal, market, and reputation. Current regulatory risks involve compliance with existing emissions and climate change mitigation rules, exemplified by the Paris Agreement. Emerging regulatory risks, on the other hand, encompass new regulations restricting emissions or promoting climate change adaptation, like carbon taxes or intended nationally determined contributions, or NDCs for short. Additionally, disruptive technologies, especially alternatives for commodity products, pose a distinct risk to Wilmar's operations. Legal risks for Wilmar encompass litigation claims, particularly related to potential failures in meeting climate-related terms outlined in procurement contracts with customers. Market risks include the rising consumer awareness of climate change, leading to expectations for managing climate-related impacts. This includes consumer demands for traceability and a commitment to no deforestation in goods. Furthermore, Wilmar faces reputational risks that may result in boycotts by stakeholders, including consumers, banks, and investors. Despite these challenges, there are mitigation measures available to Wilmar to address and minimize these risks. In their 2022 sustainability report, Wilmar outlined a climate strategy aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions intensity by 15% for all palm oil mills by 2030, benchmarked against their 2016 baseline of 0.82 tons of CO2 equivalent per megaton of crude palm oil. This strategy encompasses 3 key actions: reducing GHG emissions in upstream palm oil operations, sugar operations, and factories. These actions share a common rationale, that is, to mitigate Wilmar's overall GHG emissions to lower the company's overall GHG emissions intensity. According to our analysis, actions 1 and 3 are the only measures within Wilmar's climate strategy that have yielded quantitative impacts thus far. For action 1, the implementation of methane capture prevented a total of 0.6 million tons of CO2 equivalent greenhouse gas emissions in 2022. Similarly, Action 3, involving the decommissioning of coal boilers and transition to natural gas, resulted in a reduction of 0.2 million tons of CO2 equivalent in the same year. While all three actions are considered feasible, being common practices widely adopted in the agribusiness industry, they are not without risks during implementation. In examining Wilmar's societal role, we focused on three key areas: services and needs, demand and price elasticity, and its role in an economy during times of conflict. Operating in the agribusiness sector, specializing in palm oil and other agricultural products, Wilmar addresses fundamental psychological and safety needs. Products like palm oil contribute to the production of essential goods, fulfilling basic psychological requirements for sustenance. For Wilmar's oil palm plantations and mills, challenges in global trade and transportation may lead to a decrease in production volume, and prices could be elastic, influenced by customer demand for products containing palm oil. Conversely, in its sugar plantations and mills, production volume may decrease due to disruptions in transportation or labor, but prices may be less elastic given sugar's status as a staple with relatively stable demand. In the context of an economy during wartime, ensuring a stable supply of food, edible oils, and other basic necessities becomes crucial. Wilmar can play a significant role by maintaining a stable supply chain for essential goods, potentially supporting the production of strategic resources such as biofuels, adapting its operations to meet the changing demands of wartime, such as manufacturing goods relevant to defense, showcases Wilmar's capacity to contribute to national resilience and security. The company's strength lies in its diverse assets, allowing for flexibility in supporting these critical aspects of societal well-being. After conducting our analysis of Wilmar, we recommend a comprehensive set of action levers for Wilmar, spanning its supply chain, products, organization, process, business model, activity nature, downstream operations, and societal engagement. This includes efficient sourcing, logistics optimization, and fleet electrification in the supply chain, along with sustainable packaging and transparent labeling for products. Organizationally, we suggest adopting green energy, reducing water and energy intensity, and implementing methane capture. Circular economy practices, carbon pricing integration, and continuous innovation are proposed for the business model. Environmentally, Wilmar can minimize peatland deepening, avoid slash and burn methods, and promote conservation agriculture. Downstream operations should focus on sustainable messaging, consumer education, and transparent retailer partnerships. Recommendations for societal and market conditions involve industry-wide collaborations, sustainability integration in risk management, and incentives for farmers practicing sustainable methods. To conclude our presentation, we encountered challenges in the business case for Wilmar. Firstly, discrepancies in business segmentation between their annual report and sustainability report posed obstacles in conducting carbon accounting. Secondly, the lack of disclosure regarding emission sources for each business segment limited our analysis. Despite these challenges, a significant opportunity for Wilmar in the agribusiness industry lies in adopting the no-cane burning / trash farming practice, potentially transforming sugarcane production from a carbon-emitting to a carbon-sequestering process. This strategic shift aligns with sustainability goals and could positively impact both environmental and business outcomes for Wilmar. And with this, we have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you.